This is Sky News at 10, live from the Saudi capital, Riyadh, where President Trump has signed what the White House says is the biggest arms deal in history. But could his visit to the Middle East be overshadowed by renewed violence in Gaza?
Also ahead on Sky News at 10 tonight, the victim of what's thought to be the longest-running miscarriage of justice in British history is finally cleared of murder. The former girlfriend of rapper Sean Diddy Combs tells his sex trafficking trial that he frequently beat her. Kim Kardashian breaks down as she gives evidence in Paris at the trial of 10 men accused of robbing her at gunpoint. Plus,
the motion is therefore agreed.
Scotland takes a first step towards the legalisation of assisted dying. And we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages in our press preview from 10:30 right through to midnight.
Good evening from Riyadh. President Trump began his tour of the Middle East here with the aim of signing deals, and today he agreed what the White House says is the biggest arms deal in history with Saudi Arabia. It was part of a $600 billion agreement, which he said would make the bond between the two countries stronger than ever. But renewed violence in Gaza is threatening to overshadow Mr. Trump's tour of the Middle East. More on that in just a moment. But first, Sky's Mark Stone was watching the pageantry here in Riyadh and has this report.
It was an air escort fit for a king. Saudi fighter jets flanking Air Force One on the president's approach into a place where he feels comfortable. If the Saudi-US relationship has had its ebbs, well, it feels now like it's flowing. Down to the tie with the carpet, there is a match between this president and the Crown Prince here to greet him. Just as he did in his last term, Donald Trump has chosen Saudi Arabia again for his first major foreign trip. Now, though, they are two leaders more confident, more powerful, more self-assured, and they see opportunities and money. This was the full Saudi welcome from a country transformed so fast, where change that took Western nations centuries has happened here in one generation. Trump the president was here, but so too was Trump the businessman. In a gilded palace and with America's most successful CEOs with him, he must have felt quite at home. The so-called tech bros had traveled thousands of miles to be here. The richest man in the world, Elon Musk, and the man shaping AI, Sam Altman, among a long list of founders and CEOs from some of the world's biggest companies here for investment. Because symbiosis is what all this is about. It's about what America can offer Saudi Arabia, but now more than ever, it's about what the Saudis can do for America. And so the signing ceremony was the first order of the day, and the jewel in the crown, a $600 billion strategic economic partnership deal with the Saudis, including the largest defense sales agreement in history, we're told.
This is, of course, a relationship that stretches back many, many decades through consecutive presidencies and one royal family. But it feels now to be more important and with more opportunity than ever before.
The president got the trip down memory lane as he arrived at the investment forum. Inside, the soundtrack was his, playing now in Riyadh, and with a smattering of MAGA hats. The American cabinet, the Saudi royal court, and the billionaires' front row.
You achieved a modern miracle, the Arabian way. That's a good way.
For his speech of the day.
And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western intervention, giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves.
Well, that was a pretty remarkable speech. Despite the tariffs and the upending of the world order that we've seen over the past few months, the message there was that America is open for business, politically, economically, ready to build bridges, put differences to one side, and work with all countries in this region, even Yemen, Syria, and Iran.
A key headline was Syria. He said he's scrapping sanctions against the country, now free from Assad. It comes as the White House revealed that he is due to meet Syria's new president, once a jihadi fighting the Americans. They'll meet in the day ahead.
It might confuse some people. When he's doing his speeches in America, it's all about America first. We don't really care about the rest of the world, seems to be the vibe. And then here, it was a wholly different message, I felt.
I think there's a misperception. I think the truth is that he obviously cares about peace around the world, and he spent his entire 4 or 5 months of his administration sending his emissaries around the world to create peace deals, right?
We're strategic partners. They need us and we need them. I mean, that's just the way the ball rolls.
The evening was the state banquet. The morning will bring the diplomacy. He'll meet key Arab leaders before travelling on to Qatar, where they will surely try to outdo the spectacle today. Mark Stone, Sky News in Riyadh.
President Trump also turned his attention today to the war in Gaza, saying that people there deserved better than Hamas. At least 16 people were reported dead in an Israeli attack on what the IDF claimed was a Hamas command and control center at a hospital. Reports suggest the strike was targeting Hamas leader Mohammed Sinwar. The attack came after the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned that there was no way Israel would halt the war until Hamas was defeated. Well, let's have a listen to our Middle East correspondent Alistair Bunkle, who has more from Jerusalem.
Massive strikes on the European hospital. I mean, the pictures filmed by people who were nearby show a series, like a chain of explosions and plumes of black smoke. Terrifying for anyone close to it. Looks as though possibly they were using perhaps some sort of bunker-busting bombs. The IDF have, as you say, confirmed that that was the target. They say that they had intelligence that there was a Hamas command and control center underneath the hospital, and although they haven't explicitly come out and said that they were targeting Mohammed Sinwar, that is what we are being told. They believe that he was under the hospital, and Sinwar is a very key figure in Gaza. He became the leader of Hamas in Gaza after his brother Yahya Sinwar, the mastermind of October the 7th, was killed by the IDF in Rafah back in October. Mohammed Sinwar, sources close to some of the mediation talks say that he was particularly stubborn. He's blamed by the Israelis of putting blockers in the way sometimes in progress for the talks to happen. And so we wait to see whether or not his death is confirmed. As you say, Hamas have denied it, but obviously no proof of life. The IDF haven't said one way or the other, but it will be hard for them to confirm it. They'll have to rely on things like perhaps communications intercepts if they do have any human intelligence sources on the ground, because they're not going to get their own boots close to the site of that strike.
Yeah, and Ali, in the meantime, in the last 24 hours or so, we've been getting confirmation that the United States is in talks with Hamas through intermediaries, but nonetheless in talks with Hamas. And an American-Israeli captive taken by Hamas into Gaza on October 7 was released. We saw those images. And of course, we understand that Donald Trump spoke to Idan Alexander today.
Yeah, he spoke to Idan Alexander this evening. I think it was about a 20-minute phone call. And there was initially hoped to be a plan where Idan Alexander would travel to Qatar to meet Donald Trump when he goes there tomorrow. I don't think that's going to happen now. He's still in hospital in Tel Aviv, but Donald Trump said that he can't wait to see him in the White House, and Donald Trump has promised to bring all the remaining 58 hostages home. But, I think there is a real hope, frankly, on all sides, that the release of Idan Alexander, the successful negotiations that led to his release yesterday, can be used as a platform for something bigger, something more substantial.
That was Ali Bunkel there in Jerusalem. Well, let's bring in our Mark Stone, who has been following all the twists and turns. And Mark, we saw your report there earlier. We know that you were in that summit where President Trump spoke. You described the situation there as electrifying. I mean, we weren't surprised that big deals, big investment was going to be one of the major headlines. I think what was more interesting was geopolitics, the issues in the Middle East, was at the forefront of his speech as well.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we knew today would be money, money, money. And we knew that underneath that, probably behind the scenes, there would be a lot of talk about geopolitics. We also expect at some point this week there might be some breakthrough on Ukraine. Remember, the Saudis have been kind of brokering or helping, hosting on that particular issue. Perhaps some movement on the Gaza thing as well. But we didn't expect, for me, it was kind of the tone of what Trump was saying. His messaging seemed to be kind of much more open in a way. He was effectively saying, and remember, this comes after a few months of the tariff chaos, the sort of ripping up of the world order, and yet today, here, in this friendly country for him, surrounded by the gold that he loves, he was effectively, talking to Iran and saying, look around you. Do you like what you see here? You could have a bit of this. Play ball. Do things the way we want you to do them. Give up your nuclear program. Sign a deal. Come back in from the cold, and you can have a bit of this. And then that news about Syria. We expected that at some point, given that the Assad dynasty has gone now, that he would remove sanctions. I don't think many expected that it would come today, that he would announce it today. And tomorrow we'll have a fascinating prospect of seeing Donald Trump meet the new Syrian president, a man who, of course, not all that long ago, was a jihadi fighter, was aligned with Al-Qaeda, a man who fought the Americans in Iraq and was imprisoned by the Americans in Iraq between 2006 and I think 2012. He will shake the hand probably tomorrow of Donald Trump. That gives you a flavor, I think, of how the region is changing. Of course, massive, massive challenges in Gaza still. I think under the surface they will be discussing that, what leverage the Saudis have got now. But yeah, for me, the tone felt different. I've been to so many MAGA rallies in America. This wasn't quite like a MAGA rally, although the theme tune was played. But the vibe in the audience, people loved it.
Mark, thank you, as always, for all of your analysis there. We'll be following all the developments here. We're going to be going to Qatar tomorrow, where Donald Trump will continue his 4-day tour. But for now, Anna, back to you.
Yalda, thank you. Now, the victim of what's thought to be the longest-running miscarriage of justice in British history wept today as he was finally cleared of murder. Peter Sullivan has spent almost 4 decades behind bars over the killing of a young woman on Merseyside back in 1986. His conviction was quashed today when the judge accepted that DNA evidence exonerated Mr. Sullivan of the rape and murder of Diane Sindel. Mr. Sullivan says that despite his ordeal, he is not angry or bitter. Sky's Greg Milan reports now from the Court of Appeal.
It's taken nearly 4 decades, but Peter Sullivan finally left prison a free man. Not angry, he said, not bitter, just ready to live out the rest of his life in peace. It is a constant reminder for the people of Merseyside, a memorial to Diane Sindel, it says, and all of our sisters who've been raped and murdered. It is nearly 39 years since Diane's body was found in an alleyway nearby. Her killing still haunts people here. A 21-year-old, soon to be married, and killed with such brutality in the middle of town. She left her part-time job at this pub on the Wirral. What happened to her led to the biggest murder investigation Merseyside police had ever launched. 8 weeks later, police arrested unemployed labourer Peter Sullivan. Now, 38 years after he was convicted, that conviction's been quashed. It's thought to be the longest miscarriage of justice in British history. New tests of DNA evidence showed someone else was the killer.
In the light of that fresh evidence, we allow the appeal on ground 1. We quash the conviction.
Peter Sullivan listened to that on a video link, his family expressing their relief.
We haven't won, Peter hasn't won, and neither is the Sindel family. They've lost their daughter, they're not going to get her back. We've got Peter back, and now we've got to try and build a life around him again. So at the end of the day, we feel sorry for the Sindels, and it's such a shame that all this has had to happen in the first place.
He didn't know which way this was going. He's now got to come out. He's going to find things so different when he gets out here. He's got a long way to go.
On Merseyside, it's brought up memories, not least for those questioned in the original investigation.
Well, he did those inquiries and he came to me, where were you on such and such a date? And I said, I don't know. And then, of course, different police came in to interview. But in fairness, they have to turn, every stone, don't they?
Merseyside police have now reopened the investigation.
There's clearly a lot of work to do now in continuing those advancements in DNA. If that person whose profile we're seeking to identify is deceased, we want to identify that because we clearly want to seek justice for Diane.
Justice for Peter Sullivan has taken nearly 4 decades to come. The search for justice for Diane Sindel goes on. Greg Milam, Sky News.
A former girlfriend of rapper Sean Diddy Combs has told his sex trafficking and racketeering trial that he beat her frequently. The R&B singer Cassie Ventura also said that his drug-fueled sex parties made her stomach churn. He denies the charges. Our US correspondent Martha Kellner reports now from the court in New York.
You've been waiting so long.
When Cassie Ventura met Sean Diddy Combs, she was 19, an emerging star with a hit song
I've been so busy.
and a 10-album deal. She never released another album, telling a court her job instead became satisfying Combs's every sexual desire.
How is Cassie feeling today? Are you proud of her for testifying?
Cassie's husband Alex was in court to hear his wife testify about her previous life in graphic detail. The jury heard that Combs forced her to partake in drug-fueled sex parties with male prostitutes. He called them freak-offs. The freak-offs became a job, she testified, staying out for days on end, taking drugs and drinking, having sex with a stranger. The longest one was 4 days, more including recovering from the drugs and dehydration. Cassie is 8.5 months pregnant with her 3rd child. Combs's defence lawyer requested that she be prevented from walking to the stand in front of the jury. They might be emotionally swayed by her condition, he argued. The request was denied.
Cassie Ventura cried on the stand, wiping away tears as she alleged that Sean Combs controlled every aspect of her life, from what she wore to who she spoke to. The threat of violence in their relationship was constant, she said. Mum, are you still convinced of your son's innocence?
Combs's family are in court again.
How did you feel hearing that testimony?
6 of his 7 children present to hear claims about his obsession with using baby oil, including forcing Cassie into a blow-up pool filled with it. Lisa Bloom represents an alleged victim of Combs.
I can't imagine being his family, his mother, his children, and hearing these really graphic details about his sex life, but that's what this trial is about.
Real quick.
Cassie sobbed as she recalled feeling humiliated by the alleged abuse. The prosecution is relying on her to build a case against Combs as a sex trafficker and racketeer, charges he denies. Her testimony continues. Martha Kellner, Sky News, New York.
Kim Kardashian has told a court in France that she thought she was going to be raped and killed during a robbery at the Paris hotel that she was staying at. She was giving evidence at the trial of 10 defendants accused of robbing her at gunpoint in October of 2016. Katie Spencer reports now from Paris.
She might have seemed poised arriving at the Palais de Justice, but inside for Kim Kardashian, the reality of reliving what was a terrifying ordeal would prove emotional. Coming face to face with the accused almost 9 years after she was robbed at gunpoint. Her lawyer afterwards saying while she forgives, the trauma has stayed with her.
You try to have, generosity in your heart, and someone asks you point blank, please forgive me for what I did to you, and she did. But deep inside, she's still their victim.
Far from being an elite gang of thieves, these are some of the defendants, 2 admitting playing a role, 8 denying they did. Most pensioners and dubbed the grandpa robbers, but their age is no deflection from the terror the star felt as she was dragged around her hotel room. He had a gun up to me. I absolutely did think I was going to die, she told the court, saying he'd pulled me towards him. I'm naked, the robe had opened up. I was certain that was the moment he was going to rape me. She'd been in town for Paris Fashion Week, staying at this luxury penthouse when at 3 a.m. 2 men dressed in police uniforms burst through her door, forcing this man, the concierge, to translate. She said she begged him, "What's going to happen to us? Please translate to them. I have babies. I have babies." He said, "I don't know if we're going to die."
She was like hysterical, she was terrified, she was terrorized. Yeah, it was a hard time for her also.
Hours before, reporters from around the world had queued to get inside. 490 accredited journalists fighting it out for 30 seats. Behind the media frenzy, here for one of the most recognisable faces in the world, in court, this was less the picture-perfect, composed Kim Kardashian the world is so used to seeing. The filter gone, at times she struggled to get her words out, reliving how afraid she'd felt. Millions of pounds worth of her jewellery has never been returned. But in court, she did receive several defendant apologies, including one from Yunus Abbas, who's since written a book about how he'd acted as a lookout.
He's been waiting for this moment, a very important moment for him. Yes, to be able just to say I'm sorry, just to say I'm human, I'm sorry.
Whilst the reality star spoke of having empathy, she said she can't change the trauma she still feels. But walking away, she said she hoped this moment will finally bring some closure. Katie Spencer, Sky News in Paris.
Scotland has taken a first step towards the legalisation of assisted dying.
The vote on motion 17416 in the name of Liam MacArthur is yes 70, no 56. There was one abstention. The motion is therefore agreed.
Well, MSPs voting there in favour of plans to allow terminally ill adults to seek medical help to end their lives. The bill will now face further votes before potentially becoming law. Well, let's bring in our political correspondent, Ali Fortescue. So significant, Ali, both north and indeed south of the border.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's a hugely consequential moment in Scotland. It's important, as you say, here in Westminster, and we'll come on to that. But Scotland is now one step closer to legalising assisted dying, and it is the third time, I should say, that Scotland has voted on this, and the third time of asking. MSPs, members of the Scottish Parliament, have voted for assisted dying at this first stage. I should say that double the number of MSPs as last time in 2015 voted for, which I think gives you a sense of the fundamental change in public opinion, or certainly opinion in the Scottish Parliament, that there has been on this issue. It was a free vote, so MSPs could vote with their conscience, but there were big political figures in Scotland that were publicly against, not least the First Minister John Swinney, his deputy Kate Forbes, his two predecessors Humza Yousaf and Nicola Sturgeon. But in the end, it was the argument for, backed, I should say, by the leader of the Scottish Conservatives and Scottish Lib Dems, that bore out. As you say, it matters in Scotland, and it matters here in Westminster too, where the equivalent legislation for England and Wales passed its first hurdle as well, but is now, I think it's fair to say, in a precarious position. Its majority, 55, not totally stable. I've spoken to at least a couple of MPs that are wavering in their position. Had Scotland voted against today, I think that would have been a moment that would have been watched closely here in Westminster, and would have been a blow for that campaign for assisted dying. But the bill progresses both in Scotland and here in Westminster. I should say it's at its next report stage, an important moment here in Westminster on Friday. But as we have seen here, getting past that first hurdle, as it has done in Scotland today, is certainly not the end of the road. That is where the fraught, complicated debate can start to begin, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it is going to become law, but a big moment nonetheless in Scotland today.
Yes, and more where you are on Friday. Ali, thank you. The Conservative MP Patrick Spencer has been charged with 2 counts of sexual assault, which are alleged to have happened at London's Groucho Club. Mr Spencer, who represents Central Suffolk and North Ipswich, is accused of 2 separate incidents involving 2 women in August 2023. He says he categorically denies the charges. The French actor Gérard Depardieu has been found guilty of 2 counts of sexual assault and given an 18-month suspended prison sentence. The 76-year-old actor was accused of groping a 54-year-old set dresser and a 34-year-old assistant during filming in 2021 on the movie Les Volets Verts, or The Green Shutters. Marks & Spencer has revealed that customers' personal data has been stolen by hackers during a major cyber attack. The retailer said accounts had been accessed due to what it called the sophisticated nature of the incident, but said that no payment details or passwords had been taken. Now, QR codes are commonplace in our daily lives, but now they're also being used to sell drugs across the UK as part of a complex network of gangs. Our data and forensics correspondent Tom Cheshire has been investigating.
A simple sticker with an equally simple proposition. Scan the code and you can buy cannabis in broad digital daylight. It's as easy as shopping on any online store. Instead of back alley pickups, just add to cart. But Sky News has uncovered the complex web of Eastern European drug gangs behind it. The stickers have been appearing in towns around the country.
The way they're doing things now, it's crackers.
Steve, not his real name, was one of those who saw them.
And that's what led me to the site. I'd never used anything like that before. I'd spent most of my career trying to find it and take it off people in the prison service.
Steve made an order. It came the very next day.
Landed on the mat, absolutely stunk it did. I was shaking like a leaf on unwrapping it.
All the stickers have a simple QR code, a gateway not just to illegal drug websites, but with a bit of digging, to the criminal gangs behind them. Scan the code and it takes you to a site on the open web. We're not naming it as it's still available at the time of broadcast. It's slick and uses bright colours and brand names to advertise its products, with customers assured of next-day delivery. This cheerfully brazen online drug dealing isn't itself new, but for the first time, we were able to uncover the network behind this one. From the colourful front end to the black and white source code in the back. And here we found a long list of bank accounts and business names that are randomly selected when a user makes a purchase. From there, we could use publicly available tools to build a network map of the businesses involved, the people behind them, and how they're linked. Based on the activity from their Bitcoin wallets, we estimate they're making hundreds of thousands of pounds each year. All are Lithuanian nationals.
One of those companies is registered on Companies House here, so we're going to go take a look, see what we can find.
We didn't have any luck at either address. But then we got a call.
We want to speak to you about a business called... Have you heard of it? Yeah, it's an online business. It sells cannabis online, so it sells drugs online. 3 of the companies associated with it, they're registered to properties that are owned by your family.
She said she'd never heard of the business and invited us back to ask questions. This resident owns 2 of the houses associated with the bank accounts.
Just want to take you through this.
She said she'd never heard of the website, nor had any idea that a criminal enterprise was potentially being run from properties that she owns.
I know it's nothing illegal in my houses.
Nothing? And you don't think
Definitely.
that they might be doing that perhaps secretly, or because their names are on these sites?
You know, I can't say on behalf of them, but as far as I know, it's nothing in my houses.
She said that the 3 Lithuanian nationals had since left the UK. But it left us with another question. We could find this out. Why couldn't police? Tony Saggers was the former head of drugs at the National Crime Agency.
We've not only got an online market that isn't face-to-face criminal with its customers, but it's also supplying a drug that is a lower priority within law enforcement focus. And I think the combination of those things do sort of combine to make it easier for some people to get away with that for periods of time, but I wouldn't ever suggest that they're always going to get away with it, because people's time does come round.
We pointed out the website to the National Crime Agency, explaining what we had found. They said many organised crime groups selling drugs use social media and communication platforms to promote and sell their illicit produce. The NCA is working with partners across law enforcement and government to tackle drug trafficking. They suggested we contact Ofcom and the Metropolitan Police. The Met referred us instead to the National Police Chiefs Council, who wouldn't comment on the record. And all the while, this business, happily undisturbed, continues to sell drugs. Tom Cheshire, Sky News, East London.
Well, that was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's newspapers in the press preview. Tonight, joined by the political commentator, Tim Montgomery, and the journalist and broadcaster, Sonia Soda. Welcome and great to see both of you. So among the stories we'll be discussing this on the front page of the Daily Mail, the headline, 38 years in jail for a murder he didn't commit. More on that and plenty of the other stories as well in a moment.